After watching Gao Peng hustle the absolute crap out of the other tribe members, Tong Ling comments on how she recognizes the device he used to take pictures of their maps and lists all its uses, because I'm sure Gao Peng doesn't already know them all. The man himself turns to the tribesmen and tells them he'll introduce them to something as a gift, since this is their first meeting. He goes on to explain the Southern Sky Group's wealth and offers to have base stations installed in their tribes for free, after which they can utilize mobile phones. But of course, this goes entirely over the head of most of the guys, so Gao Peng dumbs it down and tells them phones are very useful and can't be used without a base. The tribesmen are still confused after this, in response to which Gao Peng once again tells them he'll install base stations for free if they buy phones. At that point, he just gives up for the moment and declares that their priority now is to explore the secret realm they're in. Later on, Gao Peng and Tong Ling are walking through the realm's forest when she speaks up. The girl asks Gao Peng if his grandpa will really agree to install base stations for free. To her surprise, this just brings an amused smile onto Gao Peng's face as he tells her the money required is just a drop in the ocean for them. And that's not even to mention the opportunity of crippling their enemies with internet addiction and invading their digital privacy. Dude's truly the cartooniest of cartoon villains when he wants to be. Out of nowhere, Fishy mentally bops Gao Peng and tells him to present himself respectfully in a potential dragon god realm. This reprimand makes Gao Peng wonder if this place truly is the realm of the dragon god. Even so, it's unlikely he'll get anything to evolve Da Zi with here. On the other hand, the dragon ants are not out of the question. All of a sudden, Tong Ling points in a specific direction and tells him that's where her great-grandfather found the bud of a water mulberry centuries ago. She's here to get it, since it should finally have bloomed by now. Gao Peng asks how she's confident it hasn't already been eaten, to which she replies that her great-grandpa killed its original guardian and left behind 2 psychedelic trees to protect it for him. She explains that it might be difficult to locate the trees, which is why she wanted to team up with him for protection and better chances of success. After Gao Peng promises her that he'll fulfill his end of the deal, it doesn't take long for them to find 2 out-of-place trees. Gao Peng comments that this seems to be the place, but Tong Ling tells him to hang on. She pulls out a jar and tosses a bug from inside it at one of the trees. As the bug feeds on the tree's fruit, a strange apparition appears, along with a radiant flower. Tong Ling has acquired what she came for, and thanks Gao Peng. Wait, what? What just happened? Gao Peng walks off while waving her off and just tells her that they're even now, since she helped him get the maps. Later on, he can be seen walking on his own and studying the larger map he's put together, using all the tribe's individual ones. While he's excited to see he has a complete map of the secret realm, Fishy is absolutely blown away. Based on the shape of the map, they're inside the divine realm right now. With Fishy freaking out, Gao Peng realizes just how rare of an opportunity this is. They're practically in the backyard of the gods themselves. Without delay, Fishy tells Gao Peng that he knows where the treasure room of this realm is and that it's the most lucrative spot for them to raid. Gao Peng deadpans at the fish and tells him it'll take them a full 10 days according to his map, and he's not even sure it's actually a treasure room. As he falls into a pit of despair because of that and various other reasons, it's now Fishy's turn to deadpan at him. Obviously, he knows some shortcuts for this place, and they'll be taking those. Gao Peng's mood does a complete 180 as he grabs Fishy and starts praising him, while they move onwards. 3 days later, the pair have arrived at a golden wall of power. Fishy tells him this is the spot before calling out his divine treasure to bite through said wall. Just like that, they've got a way in. Fishy tells Gao Peng to put him away, so only one of them has to do the actual traveling from here. Just when he thought the trainer is about to do that, Gao Peng instead uses fusion and hops right into Fishy's body, pissing the monster off immensely. Later, the two have spent some time exploring their destination, and Gao Peng is certain by now that it's no treasure room. Fishy insists, however, that this is just the divine realm's design, and they need to keep going. Right after he tells Gao Peng this, the man spots something strange out of the corner of his eye. Inside the lava boiling below them, there are crystals called earth fire melting crystals. Not only do these provide a valuable resource for Stripey, but they also confirm Gao Peng's suspicion that this room is a volcano. That isn't terrifying at all. They're only floating a few feet away from a fiery death. What's so scary about that? Out of nowhere, Gao Peng goes ahead and summons forth Stripey in his full humongous glory. causing him to splash into the lava and crush some unknown body below him. I'm sure it wasn't anything important, right? Stripey sits in the lava pool without a worry in the world, chowing down on the earth fire-melting crystals like a gourmet meal. Unbeknownst to him, Gao Peng has spotted a small army of flame giants closely observing them from the cliffside. Fishy tells Gao Peng to take a look at Stripey's butt if he wants to know why they're here. As it turns out, Stripey's sudden appearance and landing was right on top of the flame giant's leader and left him in a critically wounded state, leaving his men to desire vengeance. Unwilling to let Stripey's meal be disrupted, Gao Peng orders Fishy to deal with these mindless hot piles of rock. Well, they had to be racially motivated. With a quick demand towards Gao Peng to talk him up to his daughter later, Fishy pulls out their divine artifact and releases a wave of power oppressive enough to scare all of the fire giants right off. So much for that vengeance shtick. Turning to Stripey, Gao Peng asks him how long it'll take to digest those crystals he's eating. When the titanic spider tells them it'll be about 3 months. Fishy says that's ridiculous, since their priority is to explore more of this realm. Gao Peng's unfazed and just tells Stripey to swallow everything up and digest it slowly over time, while they move on. After that, Gao Peng shoots across the realm, once more fused with Fishy to go at incredible speeds. They eventually reach what looks to be a palace or temple perhaps, and walk up to the entrance. It's here that Gao Peng spots some carvings that tell a story of the past. Fishy explains that the records are the epic of the gods. Every recorded story on these walls is a story of the great achievements of the gods and tells how they became prosperous. In that moment, a sinister toothy grin grows on his face, and he explains that the stories can reveal what kind of god they depict and what kind of treasure they possessed when they were alive. Gao Peng proposes the idea of reading the whole wall of records from left to right, but Fishy tells him to just summon that little mouse of his, since it's more efficient. I mean, yeah, why wasn't that the first idea? Pretty obvious. Gao Peng releases a sigh and summons the treasure hunting mouse with a snap of his fingers. The very second the mouse is summoned, he falls utterly in love with the aura of the place, deeply enriched with the feeling of treasure as it is. In a particularly goofy moment, his heart practically bursts out of his chest and leads the mouse towards a particular treasure. As they watch the mouse race off, Fishy smugly comments that they're going to hit it big this time. To his unprepared shock and annoyance, Gao Peng proceeds to grab him like a burrito and flies off after the mouse atop Da Zi. Inside the building, the mouse is running around like a maniac, pulled by the presence of various treasures, until he eventually feels something extra special. Instantly, he races off like a whirlwind in the direction of this specific treasure, and kicks down a door like it's nothing. Rather than a conventional treasure though, what they find inside is an ugly little troll-like creature, munching on a bunch of fruit. Gao Peng is quick on the uptake though, and quickly realizes that it's actually true dragon fruit. And not only is the troll eating a bowl of it, but there's also more of them, stashed away. More than the white dragon tribe has in their entire treasure room. To everyone's surprise, the troll suddenly bulks up and starts roaring out in rage as it roars at them. Beyond the surprise though, nobody is impressed. Gao Peng and Da Zi judgingly stare down at it, as the former asks why there's an elf here. The troll walks up to the group and goes on a rant about how they've disturbed the great dragon elf king, Lord Samo. When the little guy dashes forward at Gao Peng, the man doesn't even flinch and just calls Da Zi. Half a moment later, old Samo is flattened and left on the ground, fully beaten. Bending down on one knee to get a closer look at him, Gao Peng says but one thing: "This dude's really ugly. Ouch." With an unimpressed look still on his face, Gao Peng picks up the little guy by the scruff of his neck and repeats his insult to his face. "Not even demons are this ugly. Jesus dude, he's already dead. Just stop." As the troll continues to struggle, Gao Peng reads his status window and finds that he is indeed a dragon elf king, and is sitting at level 70. To Gao Peng's surprise though, the creature's skills are ridiculously far removed from its nature, like several strength skills and a plant affinity that looks like it was added as an afterthought. As he mentally goes over what he knows, Gao Peng's expression grows more and more ridiculous. With over 10,000 different varieties of true dragon plants, the Dragon Elf King's evolution route is supposed to be insanely difficult. And yet, this little creature has not only evolved to an emperor tier, but is also the gardener of a dragon plant tree. Gao Peng quickly decides that the dragon monsters in Southern Sky will benefit greatly from a true dragon fruit tree like this. As such, he summons Silly and has him suck the whole tree up into his pocket dimension. With something like this, he could leave this realm right now, and become one of the richest people in the world, because I'm totally sure he's not already one of those. He turns to the dragon elf king and tells him that he can take care of the tree and have a whole botanical garden of his own, if he just sticks with Gao Peng. The other little guy is about to refuse out of sheer pride, but a menacing look from Da Zi is more than enough to shut him up and accept Gao Peng's terms. Now that that's all taken care of, he turns to the treasure hunting mouse and tells him it's time to find the next treasure. Unfortunately, the mouse in question is completely worn out and severely depressed over never getting a share of the treasures he finds for his master. As the rodent spills tears over his thankless job, Gao Peng promises to give him anything that can be of use to him from the next load of treasure they find. Just like that, the mouse is back to 100% and ready to get to work. Must have some crocodile DNA in him to make tears like that. No one is expecting what happens next though, as the mouse activates a new power called extreme treasure hunting. A single lock of fur spikes up as the mouse sees a whole new world of colors open up to him. With each passing second, he's closer to homing in on the most valuable treasure possible, until finally he pinpoints it. Then he's off once again, racing towards its location like a rat possessed. Gao Peng and his posse follow after the rodent, until they come face to face with a set of 3 doors. Though they're meant to be a test or trap of some sort, the mouse sees right through them and into the red color of the treasure's aura. The door on the left falls victim to his foot, revealing the contents of the room beyond it to them all. As he peers inside, Gao Peng has the most dumbfounded expression he's let out in ages. The only thing in the room is a small well, and above it is the branch of a tree with precious few leaves. Only the leaf above the well appears to be releasing drops of water into the well little by little. The system informs Gao Peng that this is the artifact known as the Divine Well of Darkness. This artifact possesses an 8.8% water rule and 3.2% yin rule for its precept content. Yeah, I'm confused too. It has some power over water and spirit. Let's just leave it at that. Gao Peng and his group are absolutely floored, with the man himself pinching his own cheek to check if this is real. Fishy is practically foaming at the mouth with how manically he's screaming when they spot something strange in the well. Well, stranger, that is. A serpent made purely of water is rising up from the lip of the well, staring at them. Gao Peng feels a chill go through him from the creature and tells Fishy that this thing must be a Saint Tyr that controls water. Fishy just smirks at him though and asks him what the heck he's talking about. He unleashes a wave of his power at the snake, causing it to flee back into the well. Fishy isn't having that though, and he summons his divine chompers to chase after it. Unfortunately for them, the well turns out to have its own automatic defense, even without a master, and blocks off the devouring teeth. Despite this, Fishy refuses to back down. In a moment of unexpected genius, or perhaps just blindly stupid tenacity, he uses the golden labyrinth brick to bypass the well's defense and sends his chompers back in. Just like that, the devouring teeth manage to capture the watery serpent in a single bite. Up at the surface, Fishy is dancing with joy over being closer than ever to restoring his original power with this water artifact. As the fish flails around in the devouring teeth, Gao Peng looks at Fishy speculatively. The smug expression he brings Fishy in and comments on how he'll have a quasi-god familiar once Fishy breaks through. Of course, his smugness is no match for that of Fishy, who said he'll stop at just quasi-god level. With the sparkles of greed still in his eyes, the fish tells Gao Peng to hurry so they can get going. Before that though, it's time for the devouring teeth to really put in some work. At Fishy's command, the divine artifact sucks in an all-encompassing breath that pulls the entire well and tree inside it. Well, with a little violent help from Fishy, that is. As soon as that's done, Fishy and Gao Peng pump their fists in the air with glee and head out. Only a few days after that, Gao Peng stands with a stuffed Silly in his arms and declares that their search is almost complete. With Silly's storage packed to the brim, his current wealth is no less than the greatest tribes themselves. Sure, the stress from their intensive treasure hunting burnt out Mousy so bad that he went bald, but it's totally worth it. Gao Peng can just get him a patch-up and start his evolution later. Right at the moment he thinks this, a portal suddenly opens in front of Gao Peng and proceeds to swallow him whole before he can react. Luckily, this seems to have just been a harmless teleportation that's landed him at the entrance of the realm, along with all the other members of the expedition. Sheng Yu Nun is at the front of the group, a disarming smile in place as always. As soon as they see him, the other tribesmen start trying to get Gao Peng in trouble for his stunt with the maps, At the beginning of their expedition, Gao Peng remains unfazed and even asks why the little guy is so mad, going as far as to mock him. Naturally, this frustrates the tribesmen even more, something Gao Peng revels in as he escalates the situation for his own amusement. Just when the younger boy is about to give in and start a fight, Ching steps in and stops the whole exchange with a simple reminder. They aren't safe here. As tensions settle, Gao Peng notes how several people seem varying degrees of happy or relaxed. Meanwhile, one man is weeping over the loss of his partner. As Gao Peng ponders over the duality of the expedition's results, a tear opens up in the sky above them, out of nowhere. Ching recognizes the new tears and worriedly calls to the others to stay back. This is the same rift from when they started. A destructive behemoth is emerging. The tribesmen all run off in fear, while Gao Peng remains rooted in his spot by awe and curiosity. The beast that has emerged is displayed by the system as a medium god tier, giant destructive butcher whale. Without delay, the beast unhinges its jaw and begins sucking up everything in the vicinity, like a superpowered vacuum cleaner. A handful of moments later, the beast has disappeared once again, causing Gao Peng to wonder what that was about. It just ate the whole secret place they were in, and skedaddled right off. The sheer scale of it reminds Gao Peng that humans are nothing but ants in the face of god-level monsters. Ching comes up to the front and announces that they have to take another path home. Since this one has collapsed into a dimensional tier, they'll attract more such beasts. With a downcast expression, he sadly tells them they might be the last ones to ever enter this realm. While most of the tribesmen are upset by this, Gao Peng just has his usual smug smile in place as he realizes they won't try to take any of the treasures he has anymore. Unbeknownst to him, Ching is thinking about how fast this collapse is spreading and the lifting of restrictions on monster levels that it will lead to. As he stands there in thought, he wonders whether he should tell Gao Peng about this. On the one hand, he's a quasi-god trainer who will be helpful to have around, but he's also not a tribe member. With that in mind, is he trustworthy? Woefully unaware of the internal conflict Ching is going through, Gao Peng goes up to the man to tell him he's leaving since their expedition is over. Just like that, he dashes off through the sky with a burst and trail of golden light, faster than Tong Ling can stop him, to say thanks again. All right, now that's rude man. A while later, Gao Peng stands outside of Southern Sky's Hope City and tells Dragon and 4 to find an open area outside the city for them to stop in. Once he's there, he brings Streppy out from his pocket dimension and deposits him in the spot. He tells Streppy this is where he can work on digesting all those crystals he swallowed and also requests a workbench for himself. While Fishy waddles off, talking about researching a new artifact, Gao Peng has Silly deposit the true dragon fruit tree. They got over here as well. Next, he brings out the ugly little troll that is the tree's gardener and explains that he wishes to use the true dragon fruit as the main ingredient in a new potion of his. In exchange for the gardener caring for the tree, Gao Peng will bring him all the dragon plants he finds from here on out. With their deal established, Gao Peng gets to work on this new potion. While Gao Peng works on refining his new concoction, Trolley, that's his name now, gets tempted by the true dragon fruit's succulent appearance and moves to grab one. To his immense shock and annoyance, Dazi pops in out of nowhere to smack the crap out of his hand and tell him not to touch Gao Peng's things. When the little beefcake yells that this is his tree, Dazi just looks down at him like an ant asking to be crushed. Though he's quaking with fear now, Trolley still tries to insist that he's the one in charge of the tree. Luckily for him, Gao Peng speaks up right at that moment, and the focus is shifted to his completed evolution potions, 7 different types for 7 different dragon ant babies. Off to the side, Mousy lays on his back, dismayed about how he's once more been used like a tool and forgotten without any reward. Geez, someone make a familiar union for this poor guy to join. Sweat drop running down the back of his head. Gao Peng tells him to quit moaning and shows him an evolution potion, specifically made for him as well. This has the mouse shooting right up in equal parts shock and excitement, while Gao Peng says that he told him he'd reward him. Tears of happiness stream down the rodent's eyes at finally being seen, and he gulps down the potion, like it's the elixir of life itself. And then he dies. Wait, no. What? The mouse falls on his back, eyes red and lazy, while he foams at the mouth. From his spot a few steps away, Gao Peng turns his head back with a shadowed, evil grin in place and explains that he added an ingredient that'll strengthen him and help absorb the potion. It's just really painful too, as a lesson not to hide stuff like that overpowered mode he revealed back in the divine realm. Off to the other side, Charlie trembles in fear at how cruel Gao Peng is to his own familiar. Yeah, I'm with the juicer on this. Dude acts like a whole villain. It's a few days later when the little rodent finally completes his evolution and recovers from the catatonic state. He now sits at a respectable level 70 in the Emperor tier with the title of Treasure Rat. Gao Peng notices a particularly interesting skill in his stat window called Treasure Storing. To test it out, he tells the rat to swallow one of the true dragon fruits without actually eating it. Sure enough, as soon as he does, a system window shows that the fruit is in his treasure storage and the rat's treasure hunting speed has increased for it. This pleases Gao Peng, as he's hit two birds with one stone. He not only no longer has to worry about hiding treasure, he can even use it to get more of it faster with this skill. Instantly, he tells Silly to spit out some of the treasures he's holding for the rat to swallow, killing yet another bird with the same stone. Now Silly has more free storage space. As soon as he swallows the rest of these treasures, the rat has become faster than ever before, bouncing all over the place at incredible speeds with a grin. To everyone's surprise, a massive eruption of fire and lava suddenly takes place not too far away. As Gao Peng wonders if that's from Stripey, the Spider Titan himself emerges from the smoke with a whole new look. The giant has finally broken through to the Sync tier. As he watches the evolved beast from atop Dazi's back, Gao Peng comments that only the 7 dragon ants are left now, so it's time to go check on them. Once they reach the spot where Gao Peng set up a barrier for them to undergo evolution inside though, Gao Peng is surprised and confused to see the whole thing obscured by a thick cloud of smoke. Though his naked eye can only see a bunch of lights inside the smoke, the system's eyes cannot be hidden from. To Gao Peng's shock, the system says that the monsters in there are currently undergoing fusion. The dancing kind or the earring kind? What? It's an honest question. Seeing as how he's the oldest of them, Gao Peng turns to Fishy to ask what the hell is up with this, but finds that the former god is in an unstable state himself, floating within the waters of the divine well they retrieved. But then, the dragon ants float up into the air in a circular arrangement, confusing Gao Peng more than ever. With his eyes wide and sweat dripping down his face, Gao Peng can only worriedly ask if they're going to be okay. See, he does care, he's just a douche at times. Up in the air where the dragon ants are floating, a massive explosion of power suddenly engulfs them all. Down below, Gao Peng starts panicking at the idea of them being hurt. Dazi is quick to calm him down though, as his first familiar reassures him that they'll be fine. Gao Peng can only smile in thanks to his oldest friend, and pets Dazi's head like old times. Right in the middle of this, yet another explosion of power booms out, blowing the cap right off Gao Peng's head with a shockwave. As the smoke clears, a whole new being emerges from within, looking like a true warrior knight with the same color scheme as most of the dragon ants. It walks forward toward the shocked Gao Peng and kneels down on one knee before him. Then it speaks, greeting Gao Peng and telling him that it is simply Dragon Ant. Gao Peng quickly opens the being's status window and sees that it's a level 80 Overlord tier mythical beast, named the 100 Faces Dragon Ant. As Gao Peng tells him to stand, he mentally notes that this beast is just one level away from Sync tier. And then, as he realizes the value of this being's special ability, his expression shifts back to his trademark. Part evil, part smug, part insane grin. Though this guy's own abilities are pretty useless, he has the power to choose any of the 7 Dragon Ants' powers and utilize them in battle, even mixing multiple of them at a time. So it's like that one episode where Animo totally screws up Ben's Omnitrix. What? I'm a visual learner. Over to the side, Fishy finally awakens and comes out of the divine well, only to be flabbergasted by this whole new being standing before him. When both the Dragon Ant and Dazi offer no answer, he asks again just who this guy is. Rather than responding, Dazi just turns to Dragon Ant and asks if he wants to spar with Fishy. Without a second thought, the Dragon Ant turns to Fishy while charging up a crap ton of energy. Still confused and completely out of the loop, Fishy grabs his head in fear as he screams out questions about what the hell is going on. But then, as soon as he sees the newcomer, using a familiar technique to produce smoke, something snaps into place in Fishy's mind and he asks if this person is Dragon Ant 6. So close but not quite. Without giving him another moment to think, Dragon Ant shoots his arms out like tentacles, only if the stretchy part was made of smoke. Fishy easily smacks the hands away with a grin and comments that the sixth baby has changed quite a bit. In that exact moment, Dragon Ant switches to the diurnal pupil ability and shoots a beam of ocular energy at Fishy, forcing him to dodge. With the switch in power, Fishy is right back to being confused, since that's the second baby's power. Finally, he grows tired of this charade and turns on Dragon Ant with a furious expression, demanding an answer. When none comes, Fishy lashes out with a massive attack, which smacks Dragon Ant right across the face and drops him to the ground. Ouch, that'll hurt in the morning. At Dazi's concerned expression, Fishy checks Dragon Ant's vitals and assures that he's alive. He asks one final time just who this is, when Gao Peng finally steps in and explains how the Dragon Ants all fused upon realizing that he just slumped one of their own. Fishy lets out an insanely nervous smile and shakily comments that there's no wonder he felt so familiar. Everybody pray Gao Peng doesn't turn him into sushi, please. Back on Earth, a member of the White Dragon tribe is flying over a particular river when he senses a terrifying presence from within it, a very specific one too. After rushing back to the chief's abode, the tribesman reports to the old man that the blue dragon has been found. When the chief asks for confirmation, the younger man explains that the aura alone ensures it, since it frightened even his own beast. The chief understands the gravity of that statement, since the young man's own dragon is nearly a pure-blooded Qing Luan. If it was frightened, this other beast must be fully pure-blooded. As far as he's concerned, though, the presence of a beast that can go even beyond quasi-god, like the pure-blooded blue dragon, is great news. That means Earth is getting more and more powerful. Putting that aside for the moment, the chief orders the younger man to assemble the elders from the other tribes for a meeting, as their team has brought back vital intel on Gu Tian Shidi. As soon as the young man is gone, the chief unfurls the scroll he's been gripping, revealing a map of a whole city. As he stares at it, he can only wonder out loud how the alien races in the Gu Tian Shidi have developed so fast. Not long after his call for a meeting, the White Dragon tribe's chief presides over a meeting in the Great Council Hall. Here, he shares the map charted by the tribesmen he sent to Gu Tian Shidi previously and tells the other leaders to take a look. When one of them comments that there's nothing special about this simple map, the White Dragon chief elaborates. He tells them that the forces of Gu Tian Shidi have evolved much faster and further over the previous several centuries than they had expected. In fact, their top cultivators/trainers are now beyond the ancient tribes in terms of both quantity and quality. This gets the attention of everyone at the table, as they instantly veer towards panic. The White Dragon chief is quick to stop that, however, as he instantly tells them there's good news too. With how much they've developed, their enemies have separated into several countries within their own home world, countries which are now at war with each other. Pretty much everyone agrees that this is a great thing for them, since a divided enemy is automatically a weaker one. The White Dragon chief stands from his seat with a fierce stance and declares that there's no shame in them exploiting this weakness, since their enemy is far superior to them. At once, the other leaders stand and ask him what his plan is for exploiting this weakness. As he said, the Green Tribe's old leader remains calmer, but shares the same sentiment, asking the White Dragon chief to quit the theatrics and spit it out already. And so, the man explains that their enemies have yet to find out about their spying, or if they have, they simply don't care. He turns to the others with a cunning smirk and tells them they can use their enemy's arrogance to their advantage and continue probing for intel without fear, since they aren't even threatened. One of the leaders asks if they should bring the Chinese into their plan, since having an extra quasi-god trainer on their side would be a massive boon. The White Dragon chief is just about to agree with this when a new voice speaks up. Yu Huangming of the Shuanhu tribe tells them to just wipe out the Chinese if they refuse to work with the tribes. Arrogant smirk in place, he turns to the White Dragon chief and tells him he has to put the bigger picture first. Internally, the man is frustrated over not being able to just tell off Huangming to his face, since he's a significant leader. Outwardly, though, he just raises his glass and tells them that China's quasi-god trainer won't refuse them. Over in Seven Sky's headquarters in Hope City, Fishy is enjoying a leisurely swim inside the Divine Well, free of any and all worries. And then his daughter shows up. So much for no worries then. When he asks if she's come to see him, his daughter, Myrna, just comments on how great he is for finding yet another divine artifact. Fishy just smiles at her and tells her he'll lend the thing to her as soon as he's restored his original power. Myrna is quick to turn down the offer though, and comments on how it's nothing she hasn't seen before. Damn, That's the most polite burn I think I've ever heard. Before taking back off, she comments on how fishy. Looks like a big fat fish being steamed in a pot. Unfortunately for him, he's too slow getting out of the well to tell her off. Before she flies into the distance, little dude stays getting roasted. Even worse to fishy is when Gao Peng walks over from the side with a cup of coffee and an amused grin, since he just saw that whole exchange. Right at that moment, Gao Peng gets a notification that he has a visitor from the White Dragon tribe. Very soon after that, Gao Peng is at the entrance of the headquarters where he finds the White Dragon chief, Bai, and his sons marveling at the ingenuity of human architecture and infrastructure. Yeah, paved streets and skyscrapers are pretty cool, aren't they? From behind Gao Peng, his grandpa walks up as well, as greetings are exchanged and he assures them they're more than welcome here. He's still talking when Bai suddenly rushes up to him and grabs his hands before calling him master and asking if he remembers him. Being used to this by now, Grandpa G politely lowers Bai's hands and explains that he's mistaking him for someone else. He assures Bai that he doesn't mind, but it's a total coincidence that he looks like their great priest, ancient leader, master, something to that effect. I've forgotten the exact term. Bai backs off without arguing and just apologizes to G for the mix-up. Meanwhile, Gao Peng observes the whole exchange from the side and wonders if this really is just a coincidence or something deeper, since the High Priestess made the same mistake. Wanting to get things back on track, Gao Peng gives the chief's son, Bai Yin, the most bombastic side-eye he's ever experienced. Bai Yin takes the hint and reminds his dad what they're here for. The chief is instantly back into business mode once he's calm and tells Gao Peng that they're here to invite the Chinese to their alliance. Gao Peng and his grandfather exchange a look that lasts all of 2 seconds before turning to face the chief. Gao Peng is the one to speak and declares in no uncertain terms that the Chinese people have no interest in being caught up in the wars of other people. The chief's eyebrows twitch in both surprise and concern at the instant rejection, and he tells Gao Peng not to make a hasty decision without at least sitting and talking about it. With one look from Gao Peng, Grandpa G leads the group over to a conference room inside their headquarters. Here, Gao Peng tells Chief Bai to go ahead and say whatever it is he wants to. In lieu of that, he pulls out a rolled-up parchment and asks them to take a look at this first. Turns out, it's the same map he showed the other tribe leaders. He goes on to explain the same thing to them, about how the forces of Gu Tian Shidi have multiplied and established several countries. More importantly, they appear to have forgotten all about the ancient tribes and are embroiled in their own wars instead. At Grandpa G's question, he confirms that these are civil wars and tells him they plan to fight there. Gao Peng has an unreadable expression sans a raised eyebrow as he admits the intel is highly valuable. However, in the face of invasion, who's to say they won't unite to wipe out all their forces first? Chief Bai insists that Gao Peng is overestimating them, and it won't be that easy for them to identify their invaders anyways. After all, apart from their blood being green instead of red, their appearances are largely the same. Gao Peng lets this new information run through his mind for a moment and thinks out loud that their enemies won't even know who they are if they don't get injured. Gao Peng admits that this does make the offer to join their alliance much more tempting. However, if he is to do so, he demands that the Chinese people enjoy the same status as the top tribe and retain the right to refuse important decisions. Is that all? What a reasonable list of nope, he's crazy. Chief Bai tells Gao Peng, not unkindly, that he's underestimating the top tribes and a single quasi-god isn't enough to be on their level. He's in the middle of offering a compromise when Gao Peng interrupts him with an outrageous question. If one quasi-god isn't enough, what about 2? For once, Chief Bai is left completely floored, with his eyes wider than they've been in a long time. In response to his questioning look, Gao Peng walks over to the balcony door and slides it open, while commenting that they might not have had any before, but they do now. If he was shocked before, Bai is completely speechless now. Right outside the building, an insane level of power and aura is being released that's changing the very color of the sky. Chief Bai realizes that Gao Peng's familiar is breaking through to the quasi-god level right as they speak. Bai is still in a state of shock when his own white dragon suddenly appears and tells him he has to use his own pressure to suppress this energy for Bai's protection. Bai tries to call out to his dragon to wait, but it's too late. Yet another quasi-god has already appeared and is staring down the white dragon with amusement, while telling that it shouldn't interfere with the breakthroughs of others. Chief Bai recognizes this as the quasi-god that set Mofo's Buddha back home in a broken state and assures her that he didn't mean to be disrespectful. Internally, he acknowledges that despite his many trump cards, it's best not to make enemies of these beings. A massive cloud appears just a little way from the balcony, and Chief Bai marvels at the ascension of quasi-god, something he hasn't seen in an incredibly long time. And then, to his surprise, a bunch of phantom fish float into his field of view from the side. But it's not just them. Before he knows it, the whole city has been engulfed in an aquatic aura, making it look like an underwater city. But then that ends too when just a moment later, an insanely large fish, perhaps a shark, appears and declares itself to be the ruler of the ocean. Yet again, Chief Bai is blown completely out of the water, pun intended, by what he recognizes as an imperial god. Before his eyes, this god opens its mouth, unleashes a gold coating onto its teeth, and proceeds to quite literally eat the darkness out of the sky. Next to Bai, Gao Peng comments that between Fishy's own deified teeth and the Sea Emperor's devouring teeth artifact, he possesses power close enough to the Great Law to destroy space itself. All over the city, the public is abuzz with conversation about what just happened in the sky. It's only when a news anchor announces that it was from the ascension of Gao Peng's familiar to quasi-god status that they all calm down. After all, the stronger Gao Peng is, the safer they are. Well, that's a pretty wholesome level of faith. I dig it. Back with the main cast, Chief Bai silently observes the antics of Fishy, now back in his chibi form, and Myrna. He can't even begin to fathom how much Gao Peng is still keeping secret, if this father-daughter quasi-god duo is something he's only now revealing. Just a moment later, Grandpa G steps in and tells them that it's time for dinner and more conversation. Soon after that, Fishy and Bai's white dragon can be seen debating over how good Gao Peng's barbecue is. Meanwhile, Chief Bai tells Gao Peng that they're planning to send imperial envoys into Gu Tianshidi soon, with very strict control over their entry and exit points. Gao Peng agrees that such measures are only reasonable, and then asks Chief Bai to give him a spot on the first team that'll be going through. Chief Bai asks if he's sure since, although he's certainly qualified, there will be many who have problems with him. To this, Gao Peng replies with a confident grin and tells him he just needs a list of those people's names so he can persuade them himself. In the face of such youthful enthusiasm, Chief Bai has nothing more to say. Sometime later, Chief Bai returns to the hill where the Council of Ancient Tribes meets. Here, he is greeted by Yu Huangming of the Xuanhu tribe once more. When Huangming asks what happened with the boy, Chief Bai tells him that he's agreed to join them and will be leaving with the next batch of envoys to enter Gu Tianshidi. Chief Bai is full of praise for the responsible young man, but Huangming waves it all off and comments that he knows exactly what the kid is after. He just wants to bang an alien. That's an interesting leap in logic. Both Chief Bai and the Green God Tribe's elders are utterly baffled by the ridiculousness of this statement. Huangming is quick to get in Chief Bai's face though, and demands to know why else China would participate in such an endeavor at their level. Chief Bai clamps down on his growing anger and casually brushes past Huangming while telling him about how he watched Gao Peng's familiar breakthrough to quasi-god before his very eyes. All Bai is left to say is a warning for Huangming not to make trouble unreasonably, even though he's clearly been sunned, or perhaps because of it. Huangming grows outraged and yells after Chief Bai for the tone he's taken. Who cares if the kid has two quasi-gods? All of them have at least that many. Unfortunately for him, the tribesmen gathered all around them are of a more reasonable nature and understand that going up against even a single quasi-god is a whole different ballgame. Being the oversensitive and self-important prick that he is though, Huangming takes offense to this and calls out that all those cooperating with Gao Peng are no different than those seeking the skin of a tiger. Yeah, I'm pretty sure these proverbs make more sense in Chinese. Let's just move on. The Green God Tribe's elder finally speaks up to Huangming and spouts off some more Chinese proverb terms in Gao Peng's defense, before Chief Bai takes back over and declares that Gao Peng is not their enemy. Besides, China has the same roots as their own people, so it's only natural for them to unite. With everyone around him turning against him, Huangming is left shaking with fury. Even a narcissist can have a moment of intelligence now and then though, which is what happens here, as Huangming decides to just back off and leave. With him gone, Chief Bai turns to the gathered tribesmen and tells them it's time to decide on the candidates for the vanguard. Before long, the day of the infiltration had finally arrived. Gao Peng stands before Chief Bai, as several tribesmen gather around in the prairie of the Black Fog world. Chief Bai tells Gao Peng about how to enter the Gution Shidi from here, and informs him that his tribesmen have made him a batch of clothes to fit in better with the foreigners there. Finally, at the last moment, he tells Gao Peng that the scouts he's going through with are going to be put under his direct command. Though Gao Peng is visibly shocked by this, Chief Bai assures him that they're all good young folks who won't make trouble for him. Plus, as long as he forges a good relationship with them, his own people's future will be secured, thanks to their connections and heritages. And now, with all the official stuff over, he moves over and asks Gao Peng if Huan Ming has come to see him in recent times. As it turns out, not only has the weird old man done exactly that and openly insulted Gao Peng, but he also proceeded to take full advantage of his hospitality, ate a bunch of free food, and stank up the whole Dan headquarters with his constant farts. The man is a goddamn living biochemical weapon. Okay, this has to be a translation error, because no way this dude is that gross and still a whole tribe leader. Then, as the preparations finalize and the group comes together, Gao Peng notices something strange about one of the scouts. A young man from the Poison Marsh tribe named Zihai has a strange quasi-godlike aura. Gao Peng is instantly suspicious of this. After all, the only way he's gotten so far is thanks to the system. For someone his own age to be near the same level without that hack, he must either be an insanely talented prodigy or have some kind of dark secret. Before Gao Peng can think more about that, Chief Bai comes over with a bottle of what he calls fragrant ink pills. With these, he'll be able to fully disguise himself as a resident of Gution Shidi. His blood will remain red though, so he has to make sure he doesn't reveal it in any way. Gao Peng sees the other scouts around him, all taking the pills without hesitation, so he throws his own back as well. All of a sudden, he feels a surge within him as a sheen of green spreads out and covers his entire body. With Frosty's assistance, he takes a quick look at himself and decides it could be worse. Then, after receiving a more detailed map from Chief Bai, he moves to meet the team he'll be leading. It consists of Bai Haishuan of the White Dragon tribe, Yuzijin of the Black Tortoise tribe, Yan Han of the Fire Flame tribe, Leiku from the Wood Thunder tribe, Ching Ching from the Green God tribe, and Bei Huangmi of the Northern Ice tribe, who also happens to be the only one of them below Overlord tier, sitting right at Emperor. As for the final member of their team, it is Zihai of the Poison Marsh tribe, and he is a Saint tier trainer, while everyone else looks at Zihai in awe of how accomplished he is at such a young age. Gao Peng has different thoughts. To be a Saint tier trainer at such a young age would have required an insane amount of precious materials. Gao Peng will need to keep a close eye on this one in particular. After heading into the Gution Shidi, Gao Peng takes stock of their location and destination, according to the map. Of the two closest kingdoms, Mingyu and Murong, they decide to head for the closer one. Without delay, Gao Peng brings out Dumby and tells the others to call out any beasts that can be traveled with, since the road ahead will be pretty rough. Right before his eyes, Gao Peng takes note of Zihai's familiar in particular. A quick look at the creature's status window reveals exactly why Gao Peng was getting an off feeling from Zihai this whole time. Zihai's secret is something involving the severed finger of the plague god. For now, though, he maintains his composure and acts like nothing has happened for the sake of their mission. He tells the team their first stop will be the Mingyue Kingdom, while clamping down his curiosity. Just like that, the group arrive at the border of the Mingyue Kingdom only a few days later. During their trek here, they've all changed into the local outfits that were provided to them before leaving home. Huangmi notes just how dilapidated the whole place looks and asks about the development of the foreigners out loud. Luckily, Ching Ching is quick to scold and remind her not to use the word foreigner around here, since y'all know they're meant to be playing locals. Gao Peng explains that due to an ongoing war between Mingyue and Murong, the border area is a constant danger zone full of poverty and strife. Luckily, they can see the walls of Mingyue ahead, so they just have a short way left to go. Upon their arrival at the walls, though, they're treated to the sight of dozens upon dozens of refugees in terrible conditions lying against the walls. They note that the guard at the city gate seemed to hardly be awake, but his beast is sticking to its post at attention. Before anyone can stop him, Lei Hu loudly exclaims something about just how green the guard is. Haishuan is quick to scold him, just like Ching Ching did to Huangmi, but is interrupted by a carriage that suddenly comes barreling their way. Even more ridiculous than its sudden appearance is the bird perched atop it, which is yelling profanity at any and all in its way. Gao Peng tells his team that they should get out of there, but by that point, the rhino-drawn carriage is already at the wall, accompanied by dozens of men. In direct contrast to the rough, orc-like men guarding it, the voice that speaks from the carriage is a soft one. The driver, Zhuang, answers the voice's question about where they are right now. As soon as he does, a hand shoots out and opens the carriage, to reveal that the young master of this group is actually a very young girl. Watching from a distance, Gao Peng wonders what a rich lady like her is doing in such an abandoned and poverty-stricken place. That question is answered just a moment later, when she instructs her guards to start distributing food among all the starving refugees. Despite her heart being in the right place, Gao Peng comments on how this kid doesn't understand the law of places like this. Before he can think of their next step, Gao Peng notices that the driver, Zhuang, has noticed something off about their group and is telling his men that they might be spies. Well, so much for this being an undercover mission. Luckily for them, it appears that Zhuang thinks they're spies from Murong, rather than the ancient tribes. He's in the middle of ordering his men to take positions, when Gao Peng and his team realize what's happening. Huan Mei is on the verge of a nervous breakdown, while Yu Zijin starts tossing blame around. Gao Peng, on the other hand, remains calm and tells his team to act accordingly, without panicking. To be fair to them, that's way easier said than done. Unnoticed by any of the guards, moving to intercept Gao Peng's group, something is going awfully wrong in the line of refugees getting food. One of them suddenly smirks maliciously under his hood. Before anyone can even comprehend what's happening, he bursts into a mass of wood, energy, and vines that completely fry the nearby guard, as well as skewering the bird on the carriage. Zhuang screams in fear for his master's life and rushes back towards her, while summoning his own beast. As his beast emerges and gathers energy for an attack, Zhuang orders it to fire the move known as split-space deception. Over in his spot, Gao Peng silently observes that the energy wave from that attack is easily Saint level. His team has barely been here a week, and they've already managed to run into 2 Saint tier trainers out of nowhere. With the tree monster split in half, Zhuang returns to his master to see if she's alright. In the distance, Gao Peng tells Hai Shuan that this isn't over yet. Sure enough, the remains of the tree monster start growing and spreading across the entire wall of Mingyue. Gao Peng tells his team to retreat now while they can, before the damn plant covers the whole town. It's not long until the tree has grown to be absolutely massive, absorbing the very life essence of everybody and every corpse in sight. Gao Peng's team is terrified by what they're seeing, but manages to keep their cool for the moment. Down on the field, Zhuang tells his master to get back in the carriage and let him handle this. I don't know, man, seems like a pretty stupid plan. His familiar continuously shoots attacks at the tree, but for every branch that's blasted, 2 more seem to grow in its place. From where his team is standing, Gao Peng realizes that the blue-white giant tiger of Zhuang is slowly being eaten away by the tree monster. With its attention split between attacking the tree and defending the carriage, it won't be long before the tiger falls and gets absorbed by the tree. While his team members discuss this, Gao Peng summons his second oldest familiar and tells him to purify all the nearby dead souls and extract any useful memories. Sure enough, Dumby has that task completed within moments and hands Gao Peng a crystal holding the language memory that he's extracted. Without a moment's hesitation, Gao Peng places his palm on the crystal and goes into a dreamlike state to absorb all the info. Behind him, his team comments on how a quasi-god trainer really does have a lot of tricks. Down on the battlefield, things look more dire than ever. Zhuang's tiger is just barely managing to protect the young lady while he fights on, and he's not sure how much longer she can last against the tree's life-absorbing power. In that moment, he spots an all-too-perfect gap in the tree monster's body and races forth on his tiger to capitalize on it. As it turns out, though, that's exactly what the enemy was hoping for, and the opening was a trap. Now that he's closer to the monster's core, it releases a massive blast of energy right at him. Zhuang manages to dodge, but even Gao Peng's team feels the attack's shockwave all the way up on their perch, something that's absolutely insane for a plant-type familiar. Unlike the others, Dumby has a whole other concern. That shockwave just now almost jostled Gao Peng out of his info-absorbing stage. All of a sudden, he's overcome with fury at his master being disturbed and leaps into battle himself. The tree monster senses the sudden arrival of a sync-tier monster and pauses his onslaught, causing Zhuang to be confusingly shocked as well. If the sync-tiers from those spies he spotted earlier, are they really from the Murong Kingdom? There are no answers to be had. In that particular instant, though, as half a blink later, Dumby uppercuts the tree monster with enough power to send it flying. And if that hadn't been enough, his terrifying death aura sends it running out of fear anyway, while Zhuang thanks his lucky stars that this beast isn't targeting him. Dumby beats the crap out of the tree and captures it. A little while later, Gao Peng wakes up from absorbing the crystal's information, only to find that everything has gone quiet. As he looks to Dumby and asks, what the hell is going on? The tree monster smashes its head into the ground to kneel before Gao Peng and beg his forgiveness. What did Dumby do to this poor lad? Gao Peng is left scratching his head as he wonders just what the hell happened while he was under. Suddenly, the plant monster rises up and forcefully ejects its master from their fused state before yelling at him to get out of there. Just like that, it vows to cover his retreat even if it has to sacrifice itself. Gao Peng is quite interested in how the beast managed to forcefully end the fusion state, but beyond that, is pretty unbothered. We see why a moment later, as Dumby takes the monster down with a simple, single blast of undead energy from just one hand. Now you might not realize this, but that really shouldn't have been that easy. Once Dumby is done, absorbing the soul of the monster's trainer as well, Gao Peng wonders why they fell so easily when the monster was sync-tier, just like Dumby. The only answer he can come up with is that breakthroughs are unnaturally easy in this world's environment, so levels don't equate to fighting ability the same way they do back home. Or maybe the plant monster was just a weak knob. Either way, his team is amazed by what they've seen and starts talking about all the things they've heard of him. Zihai, on the other hand, has a frustrated look on his face. To everyone's surprise, Zhuang comes up to the group and starts thanking Gao Peng for saving them. Yet even more surprising, however, is when the young lady rushes forward to shake his hands and appears to be completely starstruck. Hell, she goes as far as to promise that she'll have her father make him an officer right away, without even knowing anything about him. This chick's the poster girl for hero worship, isn't she? Dumby's quite surprised by her words internally. Gao Peng maintains a cool demeanor and asks if she's a princess in the language of this world. You learned it from the crystal thingy, don't worry about it. When she happily admits that she is, without a care in the world, even Gao Peng has to express his disbelief at just how clueless she seems to be. In the background, his team continues to speculate on what the hell is going on and starts wondering if he's being seduced by this young lady. Paf, fat chance of that. Dude's as dense as a brick of solid lead. When Zihai is asked about his opinion on what's happening, he just scoffs at the whole situation. Back with Gao Peng, he apologizes to the princess for being unable to join her or accept any reward, and offers a story about how he and his siblings here are on a training journey ordered by their master at the top of the mountain. The princess accepts this pretty much instantly, but Zhuang is a little more cautious. He doesn't want to doubt their savior, of course, but the people in the town Gao Peng must be from were wiped out recently, so there's no way to confirm his words. Before any further questions can be asked, Gao Peng returns to his team while calling out a goodbye to Zhuang and the princess. The second he gets back to his team, Gao Peng can't get the hell out of there any faster. Even as the two he saved call out to him, he just yells another farewell back. After all, he'll be totally screwed if they realize none of his group can even speak this world's language. Yeah, you'd think they would have considered that before setting out on a whole spy mission. But what concerns Gao Peng even more than that, perhaps, is how restless he can practically feel Zihai becoming. Something is about to go down, and it won't be good. That night, the team takes shelter in a random inn in the Manhua Kingdom. Most of the team can be seen sleeping soundly inside. Well, those who aren't kept up by Lei Hu's absolutely monstrous snores at least. One particular bed, however, is suspiciously empty. With no one any wiser to their exit, the occupant of this bed disguises themselves in a cloak and steps out of the inn in total silence. The cloaked figure makes its way all the way to the outskirts of Mingyue, even beyond the walls. It's here that they finally reveal themselves to be none other than Zihai. With a cocky smile on his face, he calls out to the seemingly empty area around him and asks Gao Peng if he still isn't tired of following him. Sure enough, Gao Peng reveals himself from where he was hiding with the great dragon ant's stealth ability. Now that they're face to face, Zihai asks why he's bothering with him when the man has enough to worry about already. He goes on to tell Gao Peng he actually admires him for being a true genius rather than going through the kind of stuff he's had to. Okay, bud, you're kinda just sounding jealous now. As Gao Peng wonders if Zihai is about to put all his cards on the table, the man in question summons his familiar and fuses with it in one quick and fluid movement. Gao Peng watches the beast roar to the night sky and asks in shock if he's really broken through to the quasi-god tier. Fused with his beast, Zihai calls out to Gao Peng, saying that taking him down here will be like child's play. Yeah, spoiler alert, that ain't how this is gonna go down. Gao Peng just smiles at how cocky this guy is before summoning Fishy with a snap of his fingers. The napping chibi slowly wakes up with a million questions about what the hell is going on, causing Zihai to be enraged at what he sees as Gao Peng mocking him. That's his biggest mistake yet though, because as soon as Fishy hears the insult to his own being, the only thing on his mind is destroying this punk. Within moments, he's transformed into his true god form, completely dwarfing Zihai's beast by 1.5 miles. All Zihai can get out is an enraged demand to know how the hell Gao Peng's familiar is this powerful after just evolving. Instead of an answer, he gets swallowed whole by Fishy. Then, finally, as the king of the ocean chews his food, he spits out a particularly disgusting piece of something and asks what the hell that is. All of a sudden, the item, a severed finger from the looks of it, shoots up into the air and tries to fly away. It doesn't get very far though, as Fishy shrinks back down to chibi size and brings out the golden labyrinth artifact when Gao Peng tells him to capture that thing. As it turns out, the labyrinth doubles as a capture device and traps the finger within itself. Seeing no way out of this, the finger suddenly starts speaking to Gao Peng and offers promises of incredible power, something which Fishy is quick to shut down as he slams the finger with the labyrinth. Though he'll never admit it, he's determined to be the only deity Gao Peng needs at his side. How about that? The tsundere is finally being honest with himself. When Gao Peng refers to the finger as the severed finger of the plague god though, Fishy is stunned that he knows what it is and reluctantly gives it up. With the finger now lying before him, Gao Peng reads through its system window, which warns of a dangerously toxic contagion. Then, the finger suddenly starts babbling on and on about all the power it can grant Gao Peng again. Annoyed by the single-mindedness of the thing, Gao Peng tells Fishy to go ahead and eat the finger already. That's when, in a last-ditch effort to survive, the finger screams that it has an insanely valuable treasure from its time as a deity that it can lead Gao Peng to. This finally gets Gao Peng's attention, causing him to turn back around with an evil smile and an eager look. The finger desperately swears on its life that it will tell Gao Peng everything it knows the second he signs a blood contract with it. Fishy, however, is very vehemently against such a thing. He's extremely vocal in telling Gao Peng that the deity this finger belonged to can't be trusted and the slope to becoming corrupted by it is a highly slippery one. Eventually, Gao Peng accepts Fishy's advice and allows him to just go ahead and eat the thing. There's no way the little guy did all that just for a snack, right? Luckily, Dumby can extract the memories from the soul of the severed finger. While most of them are fragmented, the location of the treasure is one that's completely preserved. Other than that, are some memories of how the plague god ascended to godhood, a cult it managed to create for itself, and the event that led to its defeat. Knowing the location of this treasure turns out to be all but useless though, because according to Dumby, it'll take them a full week to travel there, even with the great dragon ant as a mount. Even though if he really doesn't want to, Gao Peng now has to consider just giving up on the treasure, since he has to stick with his team for now. The next morning, Hai Xuan, Zijin, Huangmi, and Qing Qing are gathered outside Gao Peng's room, as per his request. The absence of Lei Hu, Yan Hong, and Zihai does not go unnoticed, as they all wonder where the three could have gone. The group all have their own ideas, but the conversation comes to a halt when Gao Peng finally joins them. When he asks after the others and is told they're gone, he just says they should be considered as having taken off on their own. As such, the 5 of them don't have to wait for them anymore. That seems a bit harsh, does it not? Lei Hu wasn't even a half-bad dude. Without missing a beat, Gao Peng turns back around and tells the team that they're heading to Iwaki. As he walks away, the 4 have a discussion about whether or not they should follow Gao Peng, with most of them being firmly in favor of sticking together. They are pretty confused though when Hai Xuan explains that their new destination is west of Mingyue, with their current location being to the southeast of Mingyue. That means they'll have to cross the whole damn kingdom. Unknown to all of them, Gao Peng can hear their clumsily whispered words, as loud as if they were being yelled. As he smirks at their cluelessness, he thinks about how this new route will allow him to reach the location of the Plague God's treasure without even having to separate from the group. The reason for that is that their new destination is the city where the Plague God's cult was created. More importantly, if they question the decision, he can just say that going through the kingdom, from end to end, is bound to give them the most intel on their enemies. And that's not even a lie. The art of bull crap. Truly one of the most beautiful. And so, the team sets out on a journey that takes them through all of Manhua Kingdom over the course of many, many days. One night, when they turn into sleep, Gao Peng alone lies awake and gets up. Earlier, when nobody was watching him, he added a calming agent while cooking dinner to put everyone firmly to sleep. This way, he can head out, go work on finding the Plague God's treasure, and be back by morning without any risk of them finding out. Putting his hood on, Gao Peng initiates the plan and heads out of camp. After reaching a quiet clearing, far from the team's campsite, Gao Peng calls out Dumby and tells him to continue the process of refining the bone from the Plague God's severed finger. While he works on absorbing the bone's essence, Gao Peng starts a mental yapping session about how he does what he does and how great it is. Soon enough, the process is complete, and Dumby has completely refined and absorbed the bone, just in time for them to reach the Rock City, where they're going to. Roughly a full week later, Gao Peng and his team reach the gates of Yanchang. Dude, how many damn names does this city have? Iwaki, Rock City, Yanchang? I'm just calling it Rockland from here. While the others observe the primitive architecture of the place, Gao Peng sees something concerning at the actual gates and brings their attention to it. There's a queue to enter the city, and every person that goes through is being inspected by a strange mirror of some sort. When Hai Shuan explains that it seems to have the ability to check people's identity, Huan Li is on the verge of a nervous breakdown. Gao Peng is quick to calm them down though, and tells them to just keep watching for now. Very soon after that, an incident with a young girl trying to enter the city reveals that the guards are only on the lookout for remnants of the Plague God's cult. After they take the girl in for questioning, Gao Peng has his team join the queue. Between what they just saw and the info on the mirror's stat window, he's pretty sure they're in no danger of being discovered. Even though they could get through with no trouble, Gao Peng and Fishy feel up to a spot of mischief when it's his turn to be scanned. When the mirror scans Gao Peng, it writes off the aura of water around him as that of a trainer with a water-type mythical beast. It's not prepared, however, for the feeling of drowning under an ocean of power when Fishy brings it into their mental space and absolutely terrifies it with his full presence. Out in the real world, the mirror shrinks away from Gao Peng and starts hiding behind the guard on duty. Said guard just writes off the strange behavior as another of the mirror's cowardly tendencies and pays it no further mind. He does wonder just what about Gao Peng could warrant that reaction, but since he hasn't raised any alarms, the guard decides to just let him through. Completely unknown to him, Gao Peng and Fishy are mentally celebrating the complete and utter punking they just performed on this lackluster security system of theirs. The end, for now.